Void.
When thinking about classic circuits in Italy, oftentimes people bring up Imola and Monza, and while these are two absolute phenomenal candidates, I don't think any of them truly rise to what Mugello circuit strives to be. Imola has got precise corners that require pinpoint accuracy and maximum concentration. Monza is known as the Temple of Speed, but Mugello circuit brings them all together for one long flying track with long straights, sweeping corners, elevation change galore. It is a racing driver's dream, and it will play host tonight for race number 7 of the Beer League. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Tube Frame Twisting in Tuscany. My name is Noel Rempo, bringing you all of the action from start to finish tonight. Austin Edstrom not able to join us here on this Wednesday night. He is out in North Carolina on a bit of a vacation, so we're wishing him all the best while he is out taking a holiday. So it'll be my lovely voice bringing everything to you from start to finish. It's going to be a long race and a hard-fought race tonight. This 5.2-kilometer circuit will have the longest straight for any start zone that any of these Beer League races have ever had. It will also be the longest racetrack in general that the Beer League has ever gone to. 3.22 miles in length. The circuit, the Mugello circuit is definitely going to be an absolute roller coaster of a ride. The heats tonight, 3 laps or 4 minutes. Those will end up being 2-lap heats because it takes more than 2 minutes to get around this circuit. So we're down to just 2-lap heats for all of racing action here tonight. Going to make it so our little racing show coming on up to the main event flies by in an absolute hurry. We'll take a look at the point standings, of course, entering tonight's race. And in those point standings, it is still looking to be a solid run for Alexander Hammonds, who sits on the top of the points board. Still 0 beers consumed for the Yellow Melons driver, and yet he still stands above the rest with 277 points. Austin Tucker and Alex Coffer tied at 268. It's a 3-horse race. Hammonds, Tucker, and Coffer all up in the top 3, and they are sitting 18 to 27 points above Giovanni Romano, who sits down in the number 4 spot. Christopher Bright breaking up into the top 10 after a good showing last week. He puts himself in the number 9 position into the points, tied with Tyler Carlton for the 9th position. Clank and Smith also both on the up and up inside the top 10. For the point standings, it is unchanged. Right now, Ella Mellon still sits on the top, and they are sitting a good way clear from Pizza Dogs. And, of course, Flying Donut sits in third. And they are running all the way back down to Lifton Coasters. Then, of course, the Misfits take it up to the rear of the field. For all of their efforts, at least on the beer consumption front, Team TMNT has not been where they were hoping to be in the team's championship. They sit 100 points behind the Stick and Balls crew inside the top 5. So a lot of work still yet to be done for these guys as they're going to be looking to get themselves sorted with a good driving run throughout the course of the afternoon. Of course, it's going to be a fun race for everybody here this evening as, of course, Ella Mellon's looking to run away with the team's championship, and I would not be surprised if we saw them maintain that run at the top throughout the majority of this race. And then, of course, the consumption goes ever up. 3 1/3 kegs throughout the first half of the season as we are getting set to enter the second half of the season here tonight on Wednesday night to close out the last Beer League race in February. It is going to, again, I think, be a truly wild night. There's a lot to talk about in the run-up to this race. And, of course, a lot of racing action to be had yet in the heats to boot. So it's at this point where we now have to ask ourselves who was going to stand above the rest. I mean, there's a lot of drivers that have a lot to say and a lot of drivers that are trying to get themselves with some good momentum runs for the heat racing action. Kyle Smith and Aaron Thacker, the only 2 drivers left on the racetrack for qualifying. Smith will take it into pit road, could not get the best of laps to close things out. And Thacker will be the last driver on the racetrack that is eligible to put in the flying lap as the 8:16 going to come across the start-finish line. Currently sits 12th of the points boards. He will improve to 11th, so not enough to fully get himself up into the top 10 of the qualifying sheets, but what an effort indeed. We have got things lined up then and ready to go as we are set to go racing for the first of 4 heat races then of the night. So starting things off on an 11 car, heat number 1, it is going to be Alexander Hammonds on the pole with a 158 with Bear Morton down beside him on the front row. John Combs sits in 3rd with Kyle Blevins in 4th. Ron Wolf is in 5th with Darren Bai in 6th. Matthew Dupuy in 7th. Mac Verstappen is in 8th. Jonathan Lefebvre, Justin Hall, and Adam Joseph Mailhot will round out the 11-car grid. Hall and Mailhot not putting down qualifying laps for heat race number 1. So everybody lined up just about and ready to go as it is going to be, no doubt, a race to remember for a good chunk of this field. As everyone is lined up, now we wait for the lights to flick on over the Mugello circuit to kick this race off in full. And the revs start to build. We are officially underway for heat race number 1. Hammond's on a good getaway, but Bear Morton was a little bit better. The long dash to turn 1. Bear Morton trying to pull up alongside of the Team Cheese crew. Gets alongside Alexander Hammonds. Isn't enough, though, into the first corner. It will not. Hammonds tucks in line, but Morton with the over-under and goes for the race lead into turn number 1. Hammonds trying to battle back through turn 2 and then out through the right-hander of 3. Morton still with the inside. Hammonds trying to fend him off around the long way. Launching into Matarassi and out through Borgo San Lorenzo. The 26 will officially secure the race lead. Bear Morton gave it all he got, but Alexander Hammonds, the lone pro driver in the field, running away. Really clean opening start to racing action here tonight for both of the Arabiatas. 1 and 2, 2 of the fastest right-hand kinks on the circuit. Heading towards Scarperia, jamming on the brakes with the left-hander, and then now a bit wide for the 119 of Ron Wolf. Opens up a potential attack for John Combs. As Combs tried to look for the inside, couldn't get there. And meanwhile, Combs off the circuit as he, in fact, getting a bit tipped around. And he is going to lose a ton of spots as John Combs will rejoin at the bottom of the hill. Not an ideal start to John Combs' race. Maverick Steuben sweeps by as well. Bear Morton trying to take that over-under as they drive down the front straightaway. And there's the pack, all line astern, starting the final lap of heat race number 1. Usually the heats we've had so far over the course of the season have been 3 laps. This one just 2 due to the time constraints. It's either 4 minutes or 3 laps. And Alexander Hammonds locks up again in the turn 1. Morton back to the inside on a 1 and into 2. Can't go for the crossover, trying to look high and low. Cannot find a way to get around. Alexander Hammonds trying to send it in as Bear Morton in hot pursuit. Trying to pick off another position further behind the battle for 4th, 5th, and 6th between Blevins, Dupuis. Bailly is all picking up. And John Combs will take a tow back to pit road. And he is going to be in a bad way for the end of this race. Not ideal for John Combs' night. As everyone else trying to make moves wherever they can. For Alexander Hammonds, though, working through the final couple of corners. 20 seconds remain on the clock. And it will be Hammonds who will win heat race number 1 of the night with a good drive out of the final corner, crossing the line. Behind. Oh, sorry, no, we will get one more lap, and thought that was going to be it, but no, they just made it in at the buzzer. This will be a 3-lap heat. Just getting in there with a 159.9. Talk about making it in by the skin of your teeth. All of a sudden, Hammonds has to try to fend off the pack behind for one more. Further down the pack, you've still got Dupuis, Blevins, and Bailly all trying to go at it. Dupuis gets out and wide, looks to the inside, and tries to get up and around Kyle Blevins. Jonathan Lefebvre has had a problem towards the tail end of the field. Take a look back at him. There's the 512 going around. This is coming into turn 2. Just loops that back in and spins it out. The pack spreading itself out around Mugello here as this battle for 4th still looking strong. Oh, the 703 can't have been unsettled on those 3D curves. And Bailly thought about having a look to the inside. Hammonds, though, continuing to build up a gap. It is up to 2 seconds now. Back to Bear Morton. So could this be game over? Oh, Hammonds locks up into the final corner as he looks to swing around. Not going to matter, though, as he fires off of the final corner. And Hammonds now will officially take the checkered flag for heat race number 1. Just behind Dupuis and Bailly. Getting into the fray, and that will be your battle for 5th that is settled. Of course, Lefebvre will bring up the tail end of the pack. After having that spin in turn 1, unable to make the best of impressions here. He is hoping for better in the main event in just a few moments. Heat race number 1 up on your screens as We'll move swiftly along in towards heat race number 2. And the second heat headed up by Chris Hannigan alongside Adam Jackson. Josh Freed and Alex Harrison on row 2. Row 3 holds Alexander Bueller and Corey Barrett. Blake Gambrill and Greg Beckman on row 4. And then row 5 for a 10-car field will be Dave Elkin with Austin Tucker not putting down a qualifying lap. So heat race number 1 went by relatively quietly. We'll see if heat race number 2 will be any different or if it is going to be more of the same. Looking like we can just get in the second laps right at the buzzer, so we may very well get 3-lap heats. Revs build. And we are underway. Chris Hannigan leading that charge down to turn number 1. And no one able to get to the back end of the number 4. Josh Freed, though, launching to the inside of Adam Jackson. He will pick off that machine as the pack rumbles in towards turn 2. Freed out and wide, and Jackson trying to hand that one along around the outside. And how about that? He's got a good run going. Although Hannigan really running away at the head of the field. The battle for second still on in force as Freed and Jackson go side-by-side contact at the back. And around will go Alex Harrison. We'll get a look at that in a moment. Right now, this battle for the number 2 spot is still picking up in spades. Jackson and Freed have been side-by-side for nearly half the lap. But this time, Freed gets Quinn. He'll cover off Jackson to the inside. Oh, lunging down into one of the tightest sections of the race cars. And how about the 243 of Austin Tucker trying to throw his hat into the mix? So as that battle starts to pick up once again, let's take a look back at what happened further in the field. This was Alex Harrison going around. He got punted by the 42 and shot sideways into Blake Gambrill. And while the rest was history, 58 of Alexander Bueller started to slide down the field as well as Chris Hannigan taking the lead up the road. And we'll see if this will be a 2 or 3-lap heat. It's been hit or miss right now, but you never quite know, I guess, at Mugello. Hard on the brakes as Bueller get it around Austin Tucker. Tucker with the crossover through turn 1. Or at least an attempt at a crossover. I think Bueller may have just got him. Up front, the battle for third is on between Jackson and Barrett. One minute on the docket and still about half the lap to go. I don't think they're going to get there, but you know, I got surprised with heat number 1, so I guess you never know. Barrett keeping on with Josh Freed trying to run away. Jackson and Bueller have been reeling these guys in as well. So 3 pro drivers in the field, but 2 of them mired in the mid-pack for now. As Chris Hannigan works through the penultimate corner. down into the final corner at Bucine. And the clock will expire, so in theory, this should be the checkered flag here. As Chris Hannigan works his way around. But it will not. It'll be the white flag, so we're going to be going in for heat races for laps only in these heat races, starting that final lap. Barrett trying to keep Adam Jackson at bay. Josh Freed has pulled away with second. Barrett going to be in there for third as Adam Jackson and Alexander Bueller and Austin Tucker all trying to keep packed up alongside the back bumper of this 7 car here. It's a pretty big fight for that third position, and now that they have the extra laps to duke it out, you wonder if we're going to see any more desperate moves. This is, of course, only heat number 2 of 4. Trouble for Alex Harrison as the driver of the 751 has been spun off the racetrack, and he has looped that car coming down the hill. Brings it to a stop. Oh, and around goes Dave Elkin as he will also be turned for 8th. Meanwhile, Chris Hannigan works out of the final corner and on to the pit straight. And it will be Chris Hannigan who will win heat number 2 on the afternoon. Pulls that car to a stop, and real quick, here's what happened to Elkin as he just got run over from behind by the 751, and that is a nasty incident to close out your second heat race as the rest of the field siphoned in across the line. As always, no surprises in the post-checkered flag antics for the Beer League. As heat number 2 will come up on your screens. And we will quickly get set to go racing for heat race number 3, the penultimate heat race of the night. And starting on the pole for your third heat race, it'll be Chris Bright alongside Sean Bradley. Aaron Thacker's in third with Jason Lee in fourth. Kyle Smith sits fifth with Ethan Condi in sixth. Tanner Klein seventh. Stephen Purcell in eighth. Giovanni Romano and Nate Brooker will round on the tail end of the field with, again, neither driver on the back row putting down a qualifying lap. Getting set to go racing for the third 3-lap heat race here of the evening. As the revs will once again start to rise. And we go racing. Green flag up in the air, 4 wide at the tail end of the field as everybody trying to get themselves sorted in the match. Scrambled into turn number 1. Nate Brooker jumps up 3 spots already, almost 3 wide for the race lead as well. Chris Bright takes the race lead. Aaron Thacker will secure second away from Sean Bradley, who's trying to fend off the Hornets' Nest for third. And oh, we got Brooker going around at the tail end. The British bomber spins it out in turn 2. Everything else raging on. So Thacker, Bradley, Lee, Smith, and Romano are right now the biggest podium battlers, with Chris Bright already a second clear in the race lead up the road. Just like we saw last week at the Red Bull Ring, the pole sitter has not been one that has been easy to usurp. You hear those cars thundering over the rumble strips as they try to keep things sorted. Those rumble strips were a big discussion. This is one of the few tracks that has those 3D curves modeled onto it. A lot of the drivers have mentioned about how much it was wanting to rip the wheels right out of their hands. So they're keeping an extra tight grip, which means these drivers could be extra tired at the end of this long, long event. Giovanni Romano will take it into pit road, and he is going to lock it up into pit road. So Romano practicing pit entry potentially, and this is what he saw in his run into the pits. I saw. Tried to go into the attenuator, and well, it was anticlimactic, to put it mildly. Purcell and Klein side by side, with Klein trying to get around the outside, and he has just gotten that steady. And the 63 trying to hang on as well as Tanner Klein. Looks to get in there for the number 7 spot. Purcell down the inside. Right now, Tanner Klein did a good job on hanging on for 7th place. Purcell not looking to be yielding either as he swings left, right, trying to get it in. So far, I think this has to be some of the more exciting racing we have seen in beer league action, at least this season. So you have to wonder now how the main event is going to go. But I have very promising hopes. Sean Bradley trying to retake second as he shoots to the inside of Aaron Thacker. And that, interestingly enough, puts the entire grid, save for Brooker and Ramada, in the exact same spots that they started this heat race in. So the pace of qualifying looking pretty representative to race pace at the moment. Of course, these heat races are only 3 laps long. It'll be a different question when we get down to that main event. Started the final lap this time by. Yes, man, the 816 of Thacker getting in there deep, nearly running over the back bumper of Sean Bradley. Still, Lee hanging on to the fray as well. Tell you what, though, I mean, these guys have been doing a phenomenal job so far on keeping this race sorted. I mean, this has been great racing action that we've seen so far for the Mugello circuit. Thacker and Lee started to drop back just a little bit more. Bradley pulling out with a pretty big gap up the road. And this could be great news for Aaron Thacker, potentially not so much for Jason Lee behind. 2.5 seconds up the road, Chris Bright maintains his strong run with the race lead. So far, the leaders have led every single lap. We have not had a single lead change yet. Throughout the evening, this was the same trend that we saw at the Red Bull Ring. Throughout both of the Biondetti flicks as he'll slide into the final corner. And puts Chris Bright up and into victory lane for heat race number 3. Just behind Sean Bradley and trying to outlast Becker, and he'll get around him. Well, he'll keep in front of him, I should say. Just one by one, every other car siphons their way across the start-finish line. Results for heat race number 3 coming up on your screens, as once again we are looking mighty sorted and just moving on in beer league action here tonight. Final heat of the night before we go for 55 minutes of main event. Eric Cronenberg starts on the pole. Tyler Carlton in second. Flams, LeBlanc, Castro, Campbell, Klein, Jordan, Clank, and Lane bring up the field. As this one, a very quick gridding process, as Eric Cronenberg going to quickly take us to the green flag. Oh man, a lot of checking out towards the tail end, but somehow we're able to get it through turn 1 clean. Cronenberg putting on front. Look how the 137 of Chris Flams goes around. Flams noses it into the barriers, and and now Jeremy Castro spun around up the road as well. So 2 cars having their own little problems here right out of the hitch. Making this by far the messiest start to a heat race we've had yet. A look back at what happened to Chris Flams, followed by what happened to Jeremy Castro just seconds later, as he just ran over from behind and went into the barrier. And then up the road, it looked like Jeremy Castro, who had nothing to do with this, frankly. Here you see the Flams getting spun around, and then Castro lost that by himself. And how's that? Good job on the field to get around that mess. And Cronenberg remaining in that race lead with Carlton and LeBlanc second and third. Adam Klein and Alexander Clank going side by side into the final corner for 4th. And this time we will start the final trip around. So white flag coming out early, it looks like. As you see Barn to the Flatman waving that white flag. So this one will be a 2-lap heat. And that gives one less time. And oh no! Tyler Carlton spun around by Klein up the road. Oh man, that's a risky place to be stopped at. Take a look back. This is entering turn 1. Watch Carlton here. And he did that to himself. He got into the back of the 017, and then the 95 of LeBlanc just got into him as the 45 spun around. Working lap 2 and the final lap. Three seconds out in front is Eric Cronenberg because of all the melee going on in the back. LeBlanc, Clank, and Klein in that big battle for second. And here is your race leader, the 017. There's been a few cases where we've seen that car take an early exit. Will he do the same here in this final heat, or will he go for the heat race win? Into the final corner, and Eric Cronenberg working to the front straightaway. And he will be your winner for heat race number 4. The race is on for third, and LeBlanc hangs on against Clank. Keep the results of this heat race up on your screens. It'll finish out the rest of the way as it ran. And that is it then. We are ready to go to war for 55 minutes of main event action. So take a rundown of how everything's going to line on up for the coming main event, and it is going to be a very wild race. Starting on the pole is Alexander Hammonds alongside Chris Hannigan. Chris Bright starts third with Eric Ronenberg in fourth. Baron Morton is in fifth with Josh Freed in sixth. Sean Bradley seventh. Adam Klein is eighth. Ron Wolf starts in ninth with Corey Barrett in 10th. Aaron Thacker 11th. Brian LeBlanc in 12th. Kyle Blevins in 13th. Adam Jackson 14th. Jason Lee is 15th. Alexander Klink in 16th. Matthew Dupuy and Alexander Bueller is 17th and 18th. Kyle Smith is 19th spot with Evan Campbell in 20th. Jan By 21st, Austin Tucker in 22nd. Ethan Conde 23rd with Graham Jordan at 24th. Justin Hall is 25th. Greg Beckman 26th. Tanner Klein, Jonathan Lane, Adam Joseph Milhot, and Blake Gambro round out the top 30. Continuing on down to the field, you'll have Stefan Purcell, Chris Flams, Mac Verstappen, Alex Harrison, Jonathan Lefebvre, Dave Elkin, Giovanni Romano, Jeremy Castro, and John Combs. So an absolutely packed house, and everyone just about is lined up on the front straightaway. There's just a handful that we are still waiting on, in particular, Baron Morton, Kyle Blevins, Matthew Dupuy, and Adam Joseph Balehoff. But once they grid on up, we are going to be in pretty good fashion here for the remainder of this race. The tension continues to build as the clock will run out on gridding time. Everybody is ready to go. And so it's time to go to war. Lights go out. We're racing to Mugello. 55 minutes underway. Chris Hannigan trying to see if he can stay out in front of Chris Hannigan. It's a mad dash down towards turn number 1. Who's going to come out on top, though, is the big ticket question right now. Coming through that opening corner, you can see all of the chaos just in behind. Oh, and a big pile up tail end of the field. Lots of cars going around at the exit of turn number 1. And more trouble up in 2. As one car gets spun off and into the gravel trap. Everyone else, though, looks like we have managed to escape all of the early race carnage. So 55 minutes officially underway. We'll get a look back on everything that happened on that opening lap in just a moment as Alexander Hammonds running away with the field. And so far, I mean, looks like it's been a relatively calm start apart from that lap 1 carnage. And Darren By looks like he was one of the first cars to get spun around. Take a look as he got run over by the 14 just behind. And that caused this huge stack up, and not as bad as I thought it was. I thought we had a few loose moments, but for the most part, we were able to escape that mess relatively unscathed. Ronenberg, Morton, and Freed all packed up just behind for 4th, 5th, and 6th. As numerous cars taking some liberties with the runoff areas. Diving into the final corner. And it is going to be Hammonds who will lead the first lap to green. Stefan Purcell has gone off at the tail end of the field. This is what happened to the 57. Just turned by Romano. Spun around and, got clipped. And forced to drive it forward into the grass. Corey Barrett locking up the right front. That's Barrett Morton locking up the right front. As he will be forced to let through Josh Freed and Eric Ronenberg through turn one. So it's been an intense way to kick off this race. Look back to Graham Jordan, Tyler Carlton, and more diving into the first series opponents at turns 2 and 3. And still a huge chunk of drivers are in for an absolute phenomenal night. I mean, the race in action so far has not been one to disappoint, and that is going to be something that is going to continue big time as you look up to Corey Barrett trying to keep Aaron Thacker behind. Thacker looks to the inside, tries to go deep, and that's going to cause Clegg to push it wide. Jackson trying to get in there as well, can't make it though, and Clegg maintains his strong momentum. You got to keep pushing forward. You can't afford to get bogged down in big battle packs like this, and Clegg knows this. So Clegg trying to size up the field and find some way to breach through to the point. Just behind, Jason Lee trying to do the same. Jackson unsettled at the curbs. There's the carnage that we talked about. Getting the wheel ripped down, and how about that? The 11 of Kyle Blevins going around the both of them. Take a ride on board with Blevins here with this wild ride. Saw an opening and went for it. Skated 2 wheels into the grass and came out on top. 3 wide, 1 car around to the back. That might be Castro, but 3 wide down the front straightaway. As Adam Jackson squeezed into the middle, Lee will get through the both of them, and Alexander Bueller will be forced down on the outside line. Jimmy Castro having this problem through the final corner and coming onto the front straightaway as he got into it, I think, with the 54 here. Drifts across the nose and sure enough just spins himself out. And hard hit into the tire barriers. Will get himself pointed back the right direction. And we cross the threshold that forbids yellow flag from coming out, so 1 of 2 random yellows can now commence. And Giovanni Romano spinning the round. Last season's defending champion has an off, and that was courtesy of the 71 car of Evan Campbell. Spins out the reigning champ. And he got nicked again as well. It's been a theme tonight. .41 cars still running strong on the racing circuit, all within about a quarter of a lap of each other. Riding on board with Adam Jackson, running 16th. Although Corey Barrett trying to find a way to duke it out with Ron Wolf. Running down the front straightaway now. There's still a bit of side-by-side between Alexander Clegg and Kyle Blevins. Dave Elkin has gone around. Clegg getting into the door of Blevins. Bit of argy-bargy. Says let him through. This is what happened to the 528. Nailed from behind by Brian LeBlanc and taken for a spin. And just behind, the 137 and the 71, both going at it. This right now, the battle for 26th on the racetrack. 25th, excuse me, as Chris Flam's trying to get around Graham Jordan. Evan Campbell also sits just behind as racing action continues to commence. 137 opens up the door to the inside. and will get around Graham Jordan for 25th. So Flams puts himself up into the top 25. Evan Campbell going off the circuit. A little bit of an off. He'll get himself back sorted. No harm, no foul. We'll let Alex Harrison through, however. From the speed shot down at the bottom of one of the final chicanes on the circuit. And boy, what a wild shot, really showing you just how rapid these cars are in this field. It does not do it justice. More problems for Dave Elkin at the tail end of the field as the 528 going around again, and this time unsettled by his own doing, spins around, locks it down, able to get it back rolling. And Purcell cutting across the track. Looking up to Adam Klein, trying to keep Ron Wolf at bay. Battle for 8th. Oh, and a lock up for Klein. Wolf will sweep through for 8th. Good show there for the 18 car. Corey Barrett's just up the road. And Bear Morton just exited the shot at the bottom of the screen. Pit strategy is going to be very unique tonight. It is looking to be a one-stop race, has been the reports. So trying to stretch the halfway is going to be the goal for a lot of these drivers. If they can make it to about 27 minutes to go, they should be fine. It's that big question, right, though, who's pushing, who's saving? Tanner Klein off the road, and Alex Harrison off the road. Tucker off the road. Jonathan Lane off the road. Good grief, there's been a lot of cars that have suddenly encountered a lot of trouble at about the same point. Take a look at first what happened to Tanner Klein. As, he got drilled and backed it off the circuit. And then Jonathan Lane up the road. There was Lane's problem. So take one more look back. This is with the 63, and there was a hard hit for John Combs. And then, meanwhile, Jonathan Lane having a spin. Oh, there's a car that got sideways in front, and then he got tipped by Nate Brooker checking up for all of this. So there's a big melee that went on there, and now Jackson off the track. One of the top 15 runners off the road. And that's all by himself, locking up the rears. And smoking the Hoosiers to get him off the track. Corey Barron and Ron Wolf going to continue to try to go with it. 8th and 9th place at the moment. And Corey Barron looking for the inside. Trying to pick off the spot. Corey Barrett, though, doing a good job of hanging on. The 118, though, not about to be deterred. Diving back for the inside. Barrett trying to cover him off. A little bit of door-to-door contact, and bit of bumping and rubbing, but the 119 going to sleep through. Ron Wolf will pick up 8th. And Corey Barrett slides in line just behind. Got the 816 as well, trying to get into there. Aaron Thacker and Ron Wolf all going at it. So a huge battle right now for 9th on back, and there is a lot of cars in this giant battle cluster. so far, Thacker remaining out in front. A bit of contact there again as Ron Wolf now barges Adam Klein out to the left-hand side. It's a wide track, though. There's a lot of runoff that can be used here. And that is something that a lot of these drivers are taking absolutely full advantage of. Making sure that they're able to get themselves with a very solid drive. And I mean, hey, good for them. They are putting on a phenomenal show so far. And it's only the first half of the race. You know, there's still so much time left to go. And already this is shaking up to be a memorable one. It's this league's first trip out to Mugello. You'd think they've been racing here for a while, though, with how aggressive they're going at it. Playing to the inside of Thacker. Can't get a look to the inside. Again, though, not really for lack of trying. Up the road, another battle is on. This one for the top 5. And it could be a 3-wide battle as Bear Morton looks for the middle lane. And they're going to be 3 abreast for 5th place down to turn 1. Barrett forced to back out as he's tucked up behind Sean Bradley. Josh Freed going to use them both as a pick, and Freed goes 2 for 2. So Josh Freed getting on the up and up in towards turn 2 as the number 3 car going to pick up that 5th place. Oh, and backwards is the 18 of Klein. Facing the wrong direction now as he'll try to get himself rolling. But big problems, though, for the 18 after he got into Alexander Bueller and spun off the racetrack. Takes a bit of a hit into the barriers. Adam Klein off the racetrack. Oh, sorry, that's Adam Klein that we just saw. Sorry, Dave Elkin went off the racetrack. And that was after he spun around. And then Jeremy Castro having a similar problem exiting turn 1, and he nosed it into the barriers. Castro has not had a good night so far. Freed, Bradley, Morton run 5th, 6th, and 7th. And what is one of the closer battle classes, and as I said, that a change for position between Dupuis and Blevins, and that's going to switch back as Blevins trying to get back at him, and they're both going to get sideways. Coming through into the second half of the lap. Bueller gets by Thacker as well. There's so much going on here. It's impossible to keep eyes on everything. 15, 16 minutes in, though, now. 39 minutes to go. And off the track goes Baron Morton. Adam Klein as well having a second off-track excursion. That tumbles him to 27th. Sean Bradley with that long drive down the front stretch. And meanwhile, again, towards the back end, Smith and Carlton for 16th, sorry. Tyler Carlton sweeps around the outside, and he'll pick off, or will he, as he gets loose. But scared, Kyle Smith-Carlton will hang on to 16th. Jeremy Castro, first driver into pit road, and this could be day over for the 24. Remember, you had to try to make it to halfway, but he's into the pits early on, just 17 minutes in. Justin Hall and Matthew Dupuis now, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, and 18th, all under a blanket. And now to the inside. Oh, look out! The 49 car. Sorry, the 45 of Carlton nearly wiping out the 703 of Dupuis. While further behind, another battle cluster with Ethan Condi. Oh my goodness, John Combs, Mailhot, and Romano all in the mix. This right now, definitely one of the wilder races we've been seeing so far on the season. Check it back in on Corey Barrett, trying to keep Clank at bay now. For 8th. Round the long way goes Clank, gets into the door. And that's going to result in a closed door. So again, a pack of 5 right now. All packed up line astern for 8th. Clank again getting back to the inside, trying to attack. Corey Barrett in the turn 2. Couldn't get there though. Gosh, I mean, the racing action has been nothing short of absolutely epic tonight. And that is exactly what you want to see. Off the track goes Barrett, and that's going to open up the door for Clank. I'm telling you, I mean, Mugello takes the precision corners of Imola. Oh my goodness, as he's forced off the racetrack, at least Alexander Clank is trying to get alongside, but you know, it takes the precision corners from Imola, it takes the speeds of Monza and puts them together into one absolute heaven for racing. And right now, Corey Barrett getting back to the inside. I thought Clank had it, he did not. Barrett shoves the nose in there again. And now we're double file, 2 rows deep. How long is this going to last? Clank this time forces the hole through 2 of the more one-line corners on the circuit. At long last, they get it single filed out again, but not for long, because here comes Bueller immediately looking to get an attack back down the inside. Jason Lee has pushed himself up into the fray. So making now a 6-car battle pack. All this is going on, and at the tail end of the field, Jonathan Lane has had problems as the driver of the 54 car is backwards and into the sand trap, tags the wall. He was side by side with Stefan Purcell, pushed it out wide, loses the back end, slams hard into the turn 1 wall, and then he just threw that thing into reverse to back it up into the gravel trap rather than try to go for the flick spin. Dupuis gets around Tucker. And now the 243 gets back to the inside, but was that a cut course? He took a lot of liberties with that corner, but I think he may have just gotten away with that somehow. Dupuis, Flams, and Smith all gunning for him behind as well. As the racing action continues, and I mean, I tell you what, the racing is going to be nothing short of epic tonight, as it so often is. Kyle Smith to the inside of Chris Flams. Oh, the 549. Look out, getting the bit crossed up. Well, up the road, Barrett, Bueller, Thacker, Liam Moore, all going at it still. It's hard to believe we are already closing in on that halfway mark. But that is what a thrilling racing will do for you. It makes it so it just flies by in a hurry. Bueller now back to the inside of Barrett. Barrett out too wide, has to try to get himself back organized for the next turn. Looking to lunge this one up and around just behind is Aaron Thacker and Jason Lee. Thacker will pull out ahead of the number 8. But will it be enough as they still drive it single file into some of these tighter sections, the more technical sections of the racetrack. No real big incidents though. I know Red Bull Ring had a lot of chaos in it. So far tonight, we have been relatively smooth sailing, all things considered. Chris Bright is in the pit road. Could it stretch it to halfway? So Chris Bright will pit from 3rd. And he is now going to lose a ton of spots as a result. Barrymore to the next driver in the pit road and might get a few others. Not in this big battle pack though. And look at how far this train stretches. Putting a lot of emphasis on just how far these guys have been battling together. Lefebvre with another problem as the 512 loops it and gets it back rolling. I'll tell you what, that series of quarters, Scarperia and Pelagio, has not been kind to this field. Corey Barrett, Aaron Thacker, Jason Lee, and Kyle Blevins looking to duke it out again. This is for 8th on back. Jackson and Brooker, Gambrell and Campbell are all in the pit road as well. So green flag pit stop is kicking off in earnest now with less than a half hour to go. Corey Barrett pushed a little bit too wide, got off line, and the 816 of Thacker trying to go back at him now as they jam on dividers for Currentayo before getting set up for the Biandetti chicane. So the left-right flick, is off the track goes Justin Hall. Whoa! And a bit of contact behind for Dupuy and Flams. Hannigan and Bradley with the pit road. Oh, trouble! Around goes Dupuy, around goes Flams. They both get spun around. Combs involved. They're still wrecking as Kyle Smith piles in. And we'll get it sorted, and here comes the pack into pit road. Pit party at Mugello in Tuscany. And the 64 car struggling to get into his box. What in the world is going on there for Justin Hall? But look at how many cars tried to stretch the halfway, and I don't think they got there. This might be a fuel mileage race now. Cars make their way back out onto the racetrack right now. The top 10, Safer, Hannigan, and Bright, have not yet come down to pit road. Klein back off the racetrack, while everyone else cycles out of pit road. Just a harmless little spin there for Klein. Smoked up the rears and spun it off into the weeds. And now we officially hit that halfway point, so they are coming in right at halfway. Oh, that's a risky play, and I don't know if a few of these drivers might have enough to make it, especially if they end up going for an extra lap, but who knows. We really seldom get fuel mileage races in the beer league. I'm all for it. Hammonds is the next to bail. So Ronenberg, Freed, Romano, Tucker, and LeBlanc are making their way into pit road now. So a lot of the drivers that that stayed out on the last trip through are coming into pit road this time by. Mac Verstappen will be among them. So we are now ready to get things sorted for the final half of this race. And still with no caution flag well past the halfway point now, which is a little bit surprising. Usually we've gotten one by now, but there is a possibility that we couldn't even get a yellow flag. It's happened before. It happened at Sonoma last season in the Mustangs. It could very well happen again here tonight. Look at how much this field's been broken apart now as a result of that. All the big battle trains we had are effectively gone. Jonathan Lane having an off a couple laps ago, and this is what happened to Lane. He was forced to take a tow to pit road for this, as, whoa, he just went straight. And I'm thinking a hardware failure there for the 54 car sent him off and into the gravel that he couldn't rectify. So a curious incident there for Lane. Meanwhile, 25 minutes to go. So right now, I mean, this is, the race in action itself is, it hasn't gone away, but it's a lot more spread out now, which is not, it's an unusual sight to see for the beer league, where you're so used to seeing everything condensed so tight together. But I think it also shows just how clean of a race it has been as well. I mean, this has been, I think, one of the best races so far of the season. As Connie tries to keep Chris Flams at bay. Flams going to go for the over-under. That is a beautiful undercut. And put Flams up into the next spot. That's been happening a lot over the course of the night. I want to take another look at this one. Look at how he baits Kanye to outbrake it himself and then just takes it to the inside. A lot of drivers have been really mastering the ability to go for that over the course of this race. And it has made this just such a thrilling race to watch. Battle pack for fourth place started to pick up here. Josh Freed, Eric Ronenberg, and Alexander Bueller starting to go at it with one another as cross the 23 minutes to go threshold. So while this battle for fourth picks up, want to give a quick update as to what's coming up on Green Flag TV. Our final race of February will be taking place tomorrow night at Las Vegas Motor Speedway for the Speed Tires Plus Cup Series for round number 3. And then, of course, to kick off March, the LTAC Cup Series will have their season finale at the Auto Club Speedway where Holden McGill just effectively needs to start that race, and he'll have the championship in the bag. The TNGG IAL Truck Series as well will make their return, and that'll be to the old version of Atlanta Motor Speedway. And that'll be on Saturday night at 7:55 p.m. Eastern Time as well. So a lot of action coming on up in the next little while. Got a little scrap for 16th that's picking up as well. This is Kyle Blevins and John Combs for 17th, excuse me. 16th place runner Matthew Dupuis is just up the road. And hard on the brakes for Blevins, trying to keep Combs at bay. And the 32. Oh boy, gets a bit unsettled on the sausage curves that time by you too. Whoa, trouble! Corey Barrett up the road spins it out. And we'll lose a handful of positions. On board. Speaking of sausage curves, just got over to those anti-cut curves and spun his car around. Those curves are there to deter drivers from cutting the course, and I have my own very strong opinions on it, as I'm sure many drivers and race fans do as well. But that is, of course, a discussion for another day. Jeremy Castro into the tires. As the 24 Reese's Puffs machines will flick it around. He has again lost that back bumper all by himself, spins around and takes a bit of a lazy back up, and yeah, right there, backs it in. And now Nate Brooker going around, and he's in a pit road. Forced to tow, as Brooker, in fact, pulled it off. Brooker pulled it off and taking that little cut there into pit road. That little cut that you saw there, that is actually the short course layout that used to be run up until about 1990. I'm not sure if it's still used today. But Brooker taking a bit of an unorthodox way to get into pit road there. Sean Bradley, Aaron Thacker, and Alexander Klenk in a three-way scrap for 7th. Less than 20 minutes to go. We're closing in on when that yellow flag window will close at the 10 minutes to go mark. Further back, Holmes, Dupuis, Blevins, 15th through 17th. Still engaged in close quarters combat as well. Ethan Condi has had an incident towards the tail end of the field. The driver currently runs 27th and just again got unsettled with those sausage curves. Whoa, boy, the 119 of Ron Wolf barely getting into Adam Klein as he spun around. Take a ride on board with Wolf. So is that was not Ron Wolf that got into him. So where did Adam Klein get into this thing here? Oh, this is a completely separate incident, sorry. That was Adam Klein got off the racetrack. Here's what happened to Ron Wolf, or on board with him. And yikes, just getting around Ethan Condi. So 2 different incidents taking place at the same time. And we'll take to 18 minutes to go. Bradley, Klenk getting into there as well. Matt Verstappen has had a problem. Man, Verstappen's having such a good day, and he'll have his first spin of the night. As the Sick and Balls driver spins it out and just tagged by Alex Harrison. Lincoln Bradley going at it for 7th now. And Sean Bradley going to try to get to the nose in there. Tracks out, and Clank hangs on for the number 7 spot for the time being. Now let Sean Bradley dive to the inside. But not without consequence, because now Clank started to pull away, and Aaron Thacker still really tagging on to the back of this battle, trying to keep these guys at bay. It'll be all for naught. Bradley gets through. Thacker will slip back into 9th. Right now, Giovanni Romano just got up into 11th. He is the hard charger of the night, plus 28 spots into 11th. Now the 11, Kyle Blevins having to slide off. He'll give up the spot to Chris Flams with Matthew Dupuis just behind. Getting up in there for 16 and a half minutes on the docket to check back in on 8th, 9th, and 10th. Working down the pit straight. And back into turn number 1, Josh Free trying to hang on against Alexander Bueller. The battle for 4th, pick it up in intensity here. As Bueller trying to lunge for the inside. There is still, of course, that ever-present question about fuel. These drivers were just barely able to make it to halfway. Some drivers actually had to pit about a minute before halfway. That could be why we've been seeing a lot of this racing action die off in the next little while, because it's starting to look like we're not going to get that yellow flag that we've been waiting on for the last 40 minutes or so. So do these guys have the fuel to make it to the end if it doesn't come out? They can easily just put the clutch in and coast it a bit if that yellow flag does come out, but if it doesn't, they might be hooped. And I'm not 100% sure if they can all make it to the end. I think we might be seeing some drivers either running out on the last lap or having to pit coming to 1 to go. That would, of course, be all dependent on where the timer falls, though. I mean, Alexander Hammonds is pretty far to front. He's got 4 seconds to burn, so if he has to slow down to knock off an extra lap from the timer, he has the room to do so. But it's not something he would want to be doing all of that frequently, especially if he can afford to hang on with the fuel that he's got. Hammonds was, of course, one of those drivers that was one of the first down into pit road. Adam Klein having more problems on the racetrack as the 18 car spun to the ground, and oh boy, goes way out into the sand. That was, I think, coming out of Pelagio. This is on the approach to Carntayo. Taking the MotoGP slow lap here. Kind of let some of this field through. As he spun it again, he has brought it to a stop. He's back rolling now, but not an ideal moment there for Adam Klein as his day continues to struggle. Corey Bear Morton bump drafting Jason Lee down the front stretch. I don't know if I'd recommend that with the scoops that these cars can effectively use as hoods, but I mean, he pushed it down the front stretch and bought him a bit of time, and he might have been saving a little bit of that fuel as well. Jason Lee in 12th. Bear Morton trying to close into him. Morton spent 24 seconds in the box compared to everybody else who typically took between 13 and 16, which is why he is so far down the order now. Bear Morton was a driver that was fighting for spots inside the top 10. Looking like that might be a distant dream today. 13 minutes to go. Check back in on Bradley, Tucker, Thacker, and Romano. In what is now a 4-car scrap for 8th. This was up to about an 8-9 car pack before the pit stop window. And it has been slowly building in strength now. 12.5 minutes. Do we get that yellow flag that we are all waiting on? If we do, it is going to put us dangerously close to running out of time in this race with only like a lap or two to go. Dave Elkin having another off on the racetrack. Take a look at this one, and in fact, Elkin already was kind of sideways. That's into the final corner before he ended up spinning it back around. The cause of how he got to that point will remain unknown. And as we cut back to live pictures, the 243 of Austin Tucker trying to size up a move on Sean Bradley. And they are all trying to get around lap traffic here. It's not a sight you see all that often in the beer league races. Mac Verstappen spinning out on the racetrack. Loops the back end just on the curb and spins that car around. Well, battle for sixth. Ronenberg and Clank going at it. Alexander Clank to the inside on an aggressive lunge. Trying to fight back against Ronenberg, and he's pushed out to the right-hand side, but forces the issue, and Clank is through into sixth. Good show there for Clank. Made that move happen with force. And he will put the winner of heat race number 4 down and out. Blake Gambrill came into pit road for a splash and go. He could not make it to the end. And the hope of these drivers getting that caution they so desperately need to save fuel is going to be gone, as the caution window will close and we will get our first yellow flag free race of the season. It happened at Sonoma right around the halfway mark, and it'll happen again in Tuscany. Giovanni Romano still on the up and up, trying to make it plus 30 as he takes it to the inside of Austin Tucker. And the Ottawa Senators machine is going to sweep through, put Romano back to ninth. Good show for Romano as he continues working up. Even further down the pack, you've still got some battle packs developing here. As LeBlanc, Barrett, Wolf, and Bai for 22nd, 23rd, 24th, and 25th. Corey Barrett getting in there, now to the 119 of Ron Wolf trying to make a move. LeBlanc and Bai also side by side, and Aaron Thacker has just been slapped with a drive-through penalty for exceeding the incident limit. So Thacker going to be struggling now with that, as he's going to lose a lot of positions. Romano trying to go around the outside of Bradley, and he'll score 8th, or will he? Bradley fighting back! Trying to duke this one out. Romano off it into the gravel, gets back on quickly. Sean Bradley was ahead at the turn-in point, but Romano getting ahead mid-corner, and Romano secures 8th. Clank is into pit road. He also could not make it to the end. Take a look up to Sean Bradley now and Austin Tucker. As they continue to scrap it out. A lot of drivers starting to do a bit more fuel saving, and we're seeing the pace drop off on quite a few of these guys now as they struggle to try to see if they can make that final push to the end. Corey Barrett and by both into pit road. They both couldn't make it to the end. Dave Elkin has just been slapped with a drive-through penalty, and he wrecks the 14 of Graham Jordan in the process. And Dave Elkin is going to take that tow to pit road. That was a messy affair there. Dave Elkin off the racetrack, just got loose coming back on, and then just got T-boned by the 14. That's game over for Elkin. So Bradley and Tucker for 8th and 9th. 6 minutes to go. It's about 3 to 4 laps left on the docket here for the night. And with where Hamilton's at right now, this might be a 3-lap race to the end. Matthew Dupuis trying to fend off Clank, and well, as I say that, Dupuis in the pit road with Blevins and Thacker. More cars that couldn't make it. Justin Hall couldn't make it. Most of the cars that were in the middle of battles have been forced to pit now, breaking up a huge chunk of our field. And problems for Eric Ronenberg. The 017 is sideways, and he looped that one by himself. It looked like he nosed it into the concrete. He'll get back onto the racetrack now, but not before falling outside of the top 10. Alexander Hammonds, meanwhile, still trying to see if he can hang on for that race win. He's got 16, 17 seconds. So he can put that clutch in and coast a bit if he has to. Right on board to the approach to turn 1. Well, not putting the clutch into the opening corner at the very least, even though he's got the room to do so. So Hammonds may very well be secure. And Harrison now with the drive-through penalty. The 751 exceeding that threshold as he looped by himself coming through turn number 2, I think that is, and same deal as Ronenberg tags the wall. Morton couldn't make it to the end. And now we're talking 2 laps to go. Potentially, we might have 3 to go. This is going to be such a close race. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I adore fuel mileage races. They are some of the best types of races you can get because that intensity is so real. Condi and Mailhot side by side. Condi makes a very easy pass. I think Dupuis might be saving fuel. Castro off the road, and Lefebvre is off. Sorry, Lee is off the road, and Lefebvre is off with him. Blake Gambrell as well having issues. So this is Jonathan Lefebvre going around, along with the 79. And then Jason Lee, somewhere completely separate, had his own incident. Verstappen now with the penalty. And Lee got unsettled off the curb and then got hit by Ronenberg, who finished the job. Tyler Carlton now fighting with Sean Bradley for 8th. Carlton gets through. And this will not be the white flag. Hammonds has to go 2 more laps. Does he have the fuel to make it? 2 to go with the cross flags. Oh boy. It's an extra lap added on that Alexander Hammonds did not need. Talk about suffering from your own success. If he was further back to drivers like Hannigan, he could have, wasted a bit of time. I think no matter what, though, that was going to be the way that race goes down. Chris Bright forced to pit for the top 5. He couldn't make it to the end. Right now, it is all eyes on your race leader to see if Alexander Hammonds has enough steam to make it around 2 more times. He'll lap Stefan Purcell. The last fuel run, Hammonds went 14 laps. He is working lap 27. Oh, and around will go Graham Jordan, who spins off the track. Carlton, Bright, Jackson, and Smith all into pit road. They all couldn't make it. You can see on the side how many cars have started to drop out. And Chris Flams might be one of them. As Ronenberg and Combs will get around the 137 car. And the 137, I think, is saving fuel big time. Look at how slow he's going, trying to make it to the end as Clank, Combs, and Ronenberg make short work of the 137. I mean, you take him right on board. He is in a very high gear right now, trying to get that car to the end of the race. And I think Hammonds is in a similar position. He'll finally take the white flag. But my God, it is going to be so close at the end. Right on board, we'll listen to the revs here. Well, I mean, he's still shifting as normal, so he might just have enough. A 30-second gap back to Hannigan. Alexander Bueller from 4th now couldn't make it. He'll be forced to pit. All the while, Hannigan and Freed are battling for 2nd and 3rd, and Hannigan is clutching, coasting. And all the while, this 26 Mustang is absolutely on fire. Josh Freed trying to get it to the back bumper of Hannigan. He'll look to the inside. Oh, look out, bobbles out and loses precious tenths. For Hammonds, though, he's into that final series of corners. This is going to be an almighty fuel strategy, Giovanni Romano style, if he can somehow make this work. At the 26, looks for the inside. Hannigan and Freed side by side up the road. But for the 26, he'll drive out of the final corner, and Hammonds on fuel mileage will bring that 26 car to a race win at the Mugello circuit. Incredible stuff. Josh Freed and Chris Hannigan still in that battle for the number 2 spot, seeing who will pick up the 2nd place on the podium. Chris Hannigan's been clutching, coasting this entire lap, trying to make it to the end. Freed closing in, less than a 10th. And I think Hannigan's out. Hannigan's sputtering, and he is going to run out of fuel in the final lap. He's going to get turned on the final lap. Freed takes 2nd place. Romano picks up 3rd. And Hannigan stranded, unable to make it as he is out of fuel on the front straightaway. Driver's trying to slow up to give him a helping hand. Oh, this isn't helping at all. And here comes the party, trying to help out poor Chris Hannigan across the line if he's going to get tipped up. And this will have to be a group effort here to get that 4-car across the line. This isn't working. Wait, they're going to pick him up on the hood and take him across that way. More drivers still coming through as they try to carry the 4 across the line. I mean, pushing doesn't work. We may as well try to carry the sucker. Oh, dear. They're still going at it. They're still trying to give him a hand, and it just isn't working. We're still waiting on a lot of drivers to cross the line. I think a lot of folks, though, running out of fuel on the final lap. Oh, dear. Oh, I feel bad for Hannigan. They're trying so hard. They're trying so hard to get him across the line. Come on, just a little bit more. You're almost there, buddy. You're almost there. It's right there. I can't do anything. They can't do anything about it as they're all stuck. I think the 42's, oh, the 42 not out of gas yet, but I think the 4 is locked. Can they get him across the line? Is anyone left to try? You've still got, oh, there we go. Try for brute strength, but, oh, that car is locked. Like, that thing is locked up effectively. There's not a lot they can do. Folks, I think you're going to have to give that, I think you're going to have to give it a rest. I don't think that car's moving anywhere. But this is, by the way, the 42 that's trying to help him across the line. And there we go! We finally got Chris Hannigan across the line in 23rd. Greg Beckman stopping by to help out. Blake Gambrill as well. Oh, that is one of the best things I have ever seen in my years of doing this. That is absolutely incredible. We'll get the chance to take a run at your official post-race results after that mess on the front straightaway. Hammonds takes the win by 32 seconds over Josh Freed and Giovanni Romano. Austin Tucker picks it up in 4th with Klenk in 5th. Bueller was in 6th with Ronenberg in 7th. Vermorten was in 8th. Jason Lee 9th. Brian LeBlanc rounded out the top 10. Carlton was 11th with John Combs in 12th. Dupuis 13th. Blevitz 14th. Flams 15th. Hall, Bradley, Bright, Smith, and Wolf will round out the top 20. For they had Corey Barrett, Adam Joseph Milhock, Chris Hannigan, the last car in the lead lap, over 2 minutes behind after all of that mess. Purcell, By, Condi, Thacker, Jackson, Harrison, Castro to round out the top 30. And then rounding out the tail end of the field, it's Tanner Klein, LeFaber, Campbell, Gambrell, Beckman, Adam Klein, Jordan Versteupen, Elkin, Brooker, and Jonathan Lane. That is one of the best sights I have ever seen in my life, and I am so happy I got to witness that. That was just pandemonium in all the right ways. Let's take a rundown, though, and talk to your podium finishers after a very wild race night over here from the Mugello circuit. And we'll, of course, look to kick things off first and foremost with Alexander Hammonds, the driver that somehow outlasts the rest on the one-stop strategy. Alexander Hammonds, you are one of, I think, only 4 drivers to get it done, at least in the top grouping. Walk us through it, because that had to have been close on the fuel numbers.
Oh, yes, it was very close. I believe I only had 0.2 of a lap of fuel left there at the end. Yeah, huge shout out to Austin Tucker there for sending me the fuel numbers before the race. So I knew if I could make it to lap 14, I'd be able to make it to the end. And thankfully, I was able to save enough fuel both stints to make it to the end.
At the end of the night, I mean, the caution that we were all expecting to come out did not come out, and it let this race go green all the way to the end. How does that change the mentality of these races when you don't have those yellow flags to kind of break up the field?
Honestly, it kind of keeps you more focused, because when you have a caution, there's you have like a mental break, and sometimes it's hard to get back into it coming back from the caution. So I honestly don't mind just having it go green the entire time. Just helps me maintain my focus.
We look forward into the championship. It is your third race win on the season. You already entered this race well into the points lead, so it's looking like a championship very much on the cards. What's going to be the strategy getting set to go racing for race number 8 here?
Just going to be to stay consistent. Right now I believe I only have one finish outside the top 5, so if I can just keep that streak going, I think championship's really in play for me.
Well, we'll see if you'll be able to keep that forward momentum going. That was Alexander Hammonds, and we will wish you the best of luck when we see you on the racetrack once more in a week.
Thank you. Good to talk to you first again.
That was Alexander Hammonds taking it home, the driver that drives the gold melon car. We'll take it down for the number 2 spot. Josh Freed was in it to get third, and then all of a sudden, Hannigan runs out of fuel coming out of the final corner. And, well, Josh, it was a very wild night for you as well. Kind of walk us through it. You were up and down all over the place, but you're one of just 4 that are able to come home and make the one-stop work.
Yeah, I knew that was what I was going to do right from the beginning. So I just kind of took it easy and saved what I needed to. Did an extra lap the first stint over most of the guys, so that helped a lot.
Walk us again through that fuel strategy, especially at such a long racetrack where if you get that extra lap that you're not anticipated, it can be so detrimental with such a long distance to travel. How do you have to work on saving fuel when it becomes apparent that the yellow flag is not going to come out?
Yeah, I was actually hoping for that it would not come out because I knew I was good, and but basically, yeah, just I was kind of lifting, 25 or 50 meters before, early, or maybe feet early on each turn, and just taking it easy.
And of course, we look forward now to the next race. It is race number 8, and for once, we already know what the track's going to be. It's going to be the Long Beach Street Circuit coming on over into the next race. Last season's race, chaos incarnate, to put it mildly. But we're bringing late model stocks out to party. Can we expect to see another podium from that number 3?
I think you never know what's going to happen at Long Beach. I've run good there before, but yeah, it can get a little hectic and unpredictable. So fingers crossed I can keep it clean.
Well, we'll wish you the best of luck then when we go racing next week on the streets of California. Congratulations on a hard-earned second place, and just picking that one off from Hannigan at the stripe.
Thanks.
We'll see you next week. Josh Free joining us up here in the number 2 spot on the podium for the driver out of Illinois. We'll jump down now and talk to the defending champion, Giovanni Romano. And, well, for you, Gio, it wasn't the best of starts to this race. I mean, you got punted around pretty early on in the main event, but you're able to recover, plus 36 as always, right up to that 3rd place. And you were gunning it for Freed there on the last lap.
That was pretty dramatic there at the end. That was really cool. I don't know how many people made the one-stop work, but it seemed like a lot of people ran out, and poor Chris gambled for it, and then he asked for a push, and I think the push was a little too strong.
That's putting it generously.
But it was fun.
Well, kind of walk us through the strategy tonight. I know it's not the first time you've pulled off a podium. I know last season at Sonoma, you took the win with a one-stop strategy at Sonoma. You were the only driver thinking of that race to try and go for the one-stop strategy. So how does that change how you navigate the rest of the race?
Just kind of saving a lot of fuel, but in a balanced manner. If you're gonna commit to a one-stop, you need to know you're gonna do it early enough in the stint so that you can actually save enough over the course of the stint. If you get to like a few laps to the end of your stint and you see you don't have enough, well, you're already screwed. So you kind of have to calculate it in your head a little bit beforehand. I wasn't sure if I could do it because I wasn't sure if it would go like 29 laps, and then I would have maybe been a lap short, and then probably everyone would have been, unless you drove like really slow. So, but yeah, you kind of have to think it out ahead of time, and it seems like people are getting better at it because there's more people doing it, and I think both there's a few people, Josh, Alex, Austin, all one stop. So they're improving, and it means I can't just cheese my way to wins anymore by smarter strategy.
Well, I mean, the smarter strategies are still working. I mean, you were one of just 4 people within the top 5 to make the one-stop strategy work. I think only one of about 9 in total that made the one-stop strategy work. I know the start of the season has not been terribly kind to the 99 car, but I mean, it looks like in the recent weeks you've been able to kind of regain some of that footing. Can we potentially see you with some more results like this one in the coming weeks?
Sure, why not? As long as we keep getting cool tracks like Mugello, it's pretty hard to pass when we get those ridiculously small tracks like last week with the bull ring effect, the Red Bull ring.
The Red Bull ring.
I meant bull ring is in a short oval, but I guess it's also a bull ring. So there you go. Yeah, it's really hard to pass when, especially with such a tight track like that. Whereas here, like, not easy to pass, but it's a lot wider and makes it a little easier to get up through the field. So yeah, I guess Spinny Boy will determine our fate for the rest of the season.
Well, not next week. It'll be Long Beach at least, so that's one track.
Good point.
Where,
Good point.
You want a hard track to pass. I mean, there you go. So we'll see how the 99 car fares as we go to the streets of California. But other than that, we'll get set to see you again in the next few weeks. Hopefully this is, again, the first of a streak.
Yeah, well, let's hope. See you later. Thanks.
Giovanni Romano joining us up here from the number 3 spot on the podium. And with that, we are going to be that's going to be it then for our show here tonight. I mean, what an absolutely phenomenal drive. Nothing short of absolutely incredible over the course of this evening. And I can tell you right now, it is going to be, no doubt, a big race to behold when we go racing 1 week from now in Long Beach, California. Over the course of the next days, we'll, of course, have the Speed Tires Plus Cup Series back for Race 3 at Las Vegas. The D&GG IAL Truck Series will be back for Race 2 at Atlanta. And between the both, the LTAC All Street Media Cup Series on Friday night will swing out to Auto Club Speedway for one final bout. 200 miles will decide a champion on Friday night. That's all we got time for one night. An absolutely phenomenal race. First caution race of the season. It's always a possibility, and I don't think it could have come at a better venue. The best race of the season by far, and we'll see if we'll be able to follow it up with another banger at Long Beach 1 week from now. That's all we got time for on Green Flag TV. My name is Noodle Ramble. If you're curious on who we are and what we can offer you, check us out today at www.greenflagtv.com, and we'll see you all next week in Long Beach.